Well, good morning. The Executive Committee meets today, and there are two items I wish to discuss this morning. First is the snow report. When we have a big snowstorm, people expect to be able to get out to work, shop. Seniors need to be able to get to appointments. Mother needs pushing their strollers, needs to be able to navigate our sidewalks. Kids need to get to school. The slow response to the snowstorm we experienced in February failed people's expectations. It failed my expectations, and it was unacceptable. After that snowstorm, we asked the city manager and the auditor general to look into why the city struggled to clear snow and why what the city was claiming about the status of snow clearing didn't match the reality on the ground. The auditor general's report and the city manager's report found glaring issues that were not fixed over the years, despite 4 previous investigations into the city's snow removal processes. The city staff in charge with managing the snow clearance failed in their job. They had no idea what was happening out in the field. The GPS maps were not updated. Reports coming back from the field inspections failed to document where they had inspected, when they did so. Some didn't even bother to sign their names on the reports. The snowplows broke down when we needed them most because the staff allowed privately contracted companies to use the wrong machines, despite the contract specifying which machines to use. Instead of buying the same equipment used successfully by Montreal, Ottawa, and Calgary, the city team purchased their own, and most of them broke down. Worst of all, the staff team received 29,000 calls for help through the 311, and they ignored 99.83% of them. They only replied to 51 requests for help. The city manager's report at Executive Committee today is the first step in offering some solutions. The report includes actions like more search capacity and faster snow removal. I will accept his recommendations as the first step to address this systemic failure. However, key recommendations from the previous Auditor General reports dating back to 2020 remain outstanding. Much more city action will be coming in the next few months. We must fix this failed culture of ignoring residents' basic needs. People need to get around during and after a snowfall. The second item on today's agenda that I want to highlight is the rapid TO plan for Dufferin and Bathurst. Those two streets carry over 75,000 people per day on buses and streetcars. FIFA World Cup will likely bring an estimated 300,000 visitors to our city. With that in mind, City Council decided to expedite the plans for dedicated transit lanes on these streets. I support rapid TO. I support more transit to get people moving. Congestion is a problem in the city, and already we are hiring 100 traffic agents and speeding up constructions, coordinating them, but nothing has as large an impact as better public transit. The better way to tackle congestion is making sure that there are reliable and faster TTC service, so more people take transit instead of driving. So let's move forward with the Dufferin and Bathurst lanes south of Bloor. This proposal has been around for 6 years, since 2019. It's time to take action instead of reviewing reports. And we can do better. That's why I want city staff to explore more options for improving transit services north of Bloor in time for the World Cup. Working with local councillors, residents, small businesses, and transit riders, I want options. Whether it's HOV lanes or other solutions, loading zones, etc. There's a lot of alternatives one could look at so that transit and people could move faster in that area. Now, these options must consider alternatives to on-street parking, timing of loading zones, problems identified by the local communities, whether they're residents or small businesses. A proper implementation of rapid TO means thousands of new riders on TTC. Less frustration. These are people who wouldn't be driving, so there'll be less frustration being stuck in traffic. We know the economic cost of congestion is high, and that's why Toronto Region Board of Trade, the voice of businesses in the city, has expressed support for rapid TO. And I thank the Board of Trade for their commitment to tackle congestion in the city and their relentless optimism of creating a better city. Together, let's get Toronto moving. You may have some questions?
Chow, on snow, if we want to clear and remove and plow and do everything better, it's going to cost millions more. You frequently have talked about in the last 2 years the financial strain on the city before you've inherited that financial strain. If we're talking millions more to better maintain our roads when there is a major snowstorm, are you willing to spend that money and where would it come from?
Well, you would see in the city manager's report and the consultant report coming back that the reorganization would not mean hiring new staff. That means no new spending on that front. Okay? The report was very clear. There's another piece, though, about snow removal. That we have to look at. Okay? But not answering 99.83% of the calls for help. That's not how much money one spent. Okay? That is a systemic failure of ignoring the basic needs. Basic needs of trying to get out onto the street. You have to leap over a sidewalk with these snow banks that are so high. It doesn't make sense. Okay? And accepting reports from the field, because the GPS maps obviously is not working, so they can't tell what's happening on the street. I'm talking about the city staff in charge. So you can't count on GPS, okay? So you do a field inspection. Well, the field inspection, 4 of the areas, 4 out of 5, have reports that are missing date, time, location. Some didn't even bother signing their names onto these reports. In contract 1, 20 reports were like that. That is also wouldn't cost a lot more money if you have the report. You already have the field people out there inspecting. How much would it cost for you to write better reports? Okay, so I can go on. Buying machines that are successfully used by Montreal, Ottawa, Calgary, which all of them have more snow than we do. Okay, it's successful. In fact, I saw one of these machines in Ireland, in Dublin, and I thought, what? Our machines that are being purchased, half of them, more than half of them, failed, broke down, and stayed in the shop in the middle of the snowstorm. Okay, so that's why a lot of the sidewalks were not proud.
So really not mincing words about how you feel about your staff sort of work here. So were people fired or demoted in light of the snow events that took place or didn't take place in the city?
Well, the snowstorm came in February. Immediately, the next council, I said, I want an auditor report. I want the city manager to get to the bottom of it. Today, you're seeing the results. You're seeing the reports. This would be the 5th Auditor General report. The first one started in 2020, 2021, 2 in 2023. I came in July of 2023. Wasn't much snow in 24. And then there was a snowstorm in 2025. There will be further action that are needed to deal with this systemic failure. And today's report from the city manager is the first step.
Mayor Chow, if no one's held to account, why not just keep taking it easy? Why answer the phone if no one's going to you know what I mean?
I know, the 311, the 311 logging 29,000 calls. And of course there needs to be consequences. And which is why the city manager will take charge and take appropriate action. And it's deeply disappointing when 99.83% of these calls for help, some of them are seniors stuck in their homes for days and days, weeks, and not being able to get out, for heaven's sake. My office gotten a lot of calls, and we try to get out and to do as much as we can and direct them. And I thought, and then we looked at the end of the day after the snowstorm, only 51 of them had an action plan out of the 29,000.
So, Mayor Chow, I know we're in the middle of a heat wave, but winter is only a few months away. Can you assure the people of the city that next time we get this kind of snow, that this won't happen?
We are. I expect all the action that needs to prepare to be done by end of November, because with a climate crisis, you never know. Heat waves are starting earlier. Storms are it's bigger, more frequent. Sometimes earlier, sometimes later. You expect, well, April will always end up having something. But yeah, we need to be ready.
So, there's problems with the equipment, there's problems with 311, there's problems with GPS and communication.
There's a problem with reports, how they're written, field audits.
All of that, do you yourself and your office not have to take some responsibility here for the way things played out in February?
Well, immediately after the snowstorm, I ordered the Auditor General to get to the bottom of it. The city manager promised that he would do the same. And now the two reports are coming together. One's about the problem, the other one is a potential solution. So lots of action will be taken. There wasn't a big snowstorm last year in 2024, so I didn't realize the problem was that deep. And when I went in 2025, in March, right, but the storm was in February. In March, I immediately ordered the studies, and today is what you're seeing is the result of that.
On Rapid TO, like you mentioned, the Board of Trade has said that these bus lanes should go up to Eglinton. The majority of transit riders or people who live on Bathurst and Dufferin that were surveyed over a month by the city have said that they want these bus lanes. Why not move forward with them?
We're moving forward on South of Bloor. I have a motion that I am presenting at the executive committee that actually look at, here are the two recommendations. We are asking the city's team to develop implementation plans with due consideration of local needs for the remaining Rapid TO corridor north of Bloor. So we are looking at how we could do it and report back to the executive committee with the evaluation of South of Bloor and looking at how we could deal with the needs of the local area. What about the loading zone? What about the parking? What about all the different struggles that local businesses and the residents have identified?
And Bathurst was just added, but Dufferin has been on the list for Rapid TO since 2019.
Yep.
The city has known that it wants to implement bus lanes on that street for a while now.
Yeah, 6 years actually.
Why wasn't the city prepared for the concerns of businesses and residents about parking?
That's a very good question. This is, well, now at least we're acting. 6 years is too long to wait, and we are now proceeding south of Bloor. It's always good to do a bit of evaluation, And the other recommendation is for the executive committee to have a report on the transit priority measures that can be implemented for FIFA World Cup, okay, including considerations of HOV bus lanes, rush hour parking prohibitions, time of use, loading zones, and best practices from other jurisdictions. So we are looking at transit priority measures.
Mayor Chow, the federal government is looking to slash billions from their budget. The spending review is still upcoming. Details are very minimal. We've tried to get them. But because details are minimal, there are worries kind of circulating municipally. Is there anything specific you are hoping that they would protect?
Well, we've signed a legal agreement for 55 subway cars. I hope that's protected. We desperately need the waterfront and the Eglinton East Scarborough LRT. And those two are big infrastructure projects. It may impact on their capital budget. I know they're looking to cut their operating budget, but these are 30, 40 years projects. So I hope they're not on the chopping block. Well, it needs to be on the block anyway. They need to say yes to it. There are a lot of housing, minimum 25,000 units. The shuffle can hit the ground tomorrow if the federal and the provincial come and join the City of Toronto and help us exempt development charges so it is more affordable for home builders to build. Right now, the math doesn't work for them. That's why everything has slowed down. There's no building. Well, other than the 8,000 that we exempted the development charges and 15% property tax. So those are moving forward. Another 3,000 of condos are moving forward because we are deferring their development charges. We're doing everything we can, but we have limited financial means. So we're hoping to partner with the federal government and the provincial government to get housing built now.
Mayor, what's your reaction to Mayor Patrick Brown receiving threats and having beacon or police protection? I mean, what's your reaction to that? And have you ever received similar threats?
I served with Patrick Brown when we were both member of parliament, so I know him well. And I hope he stays safe. Anyone receiving threats are just unacceptable. Through the years, because I've been in public life for several decades, for quite a long time, my late husband, for example, and I have received veil threats. And yes, it has occurred. Were we fearful? No. And one cannot live with fear. So yes, there are some more explicit, other less so.
Mayor Chow, FIFA World tickets are out. World Cup tickets are out for Toronto, and they range from 2,500 to 40,000. What are these tickets for? And what are the less expensive ones?
Not for me. Wow. Okay. FIFA established their price. We don't have much control over it. We have the Fan Fest. Come and join and feel the energy. I'll be attending the Fan Fest, and that's steep. That's very steep. But I don't have much control over ticket pricing, unfortunately.
But Mayor Chow, to that point, I mean, you know, the whole point of the World Cup coming was that games were coming here, but it sounds like the people of the city will be shut out of the actual games part. I mean,
Some people, yeah. Well, some people will get access.
but the majority of us.
Not the ordinary folks. I heard there might be if you sign on right now, they're going to do draws. So FIFA has their way of dealing with these kind of things. So you can get on the FIFA World Cup site, subscribe to their newsletter or something of that nature, and then you can get a chance to win some tickets that are a lot more reasonably priced.
If I could just go back to snow for a second, you talked a lot about how because there was no storm early in your tenure, you didn't know about the problems. Now you do. Does the previous administration under Mayor Tory hold some responsibility here for the way things played out and how bad it was handled?
I just want to look forward and not backwards. I know what needs to be done now. It took a long time to read through all the reports, which I did. Every single one of the auditor's report. I can name the 8 recommendations that are outstanding. I can name the 141 single axle machines that should not have been allowed to be used because the contract said it should be triple and double axle. I can go into all the fine details about what's not being done, and I will make sure that it's being done. I've seen the multi-hawks that are being used by Ottawa, Montreal, which have narrow sidewalks, and Calgary. Lots more snow than we do. I don't know why these other machines that didn't work at all. And I even spoke to the workers. They are the frontline workers. They said to me, Mayor Chow, I would have told you these machines not going to work. I thought, well, now you tell me, after the snowstorm. So there are lots to be fixed, and I know every single piece of what the Auditor General and the consultant said went wrong. So it will be fixed.
Mayor Chow, on the topic of moving forward, the city manager did say that if we want to do snow removal better,
Yeah.
it won't be a small line item. He did say it depends on what council wants to do. So again, are you willing to spend that
Well,
money?
the report at this point said that they are going to come back in November to talk about the single snow removal team, snow plow removal team, winter maintenance team, a separate unit. Is that a good idea? We'll see. And then the question of snow removal being in a contract, a separate contract. What I don't understand in 2019, that there was a contract that was signed in 2021, another contract being signed, and those contracts did not specify that you have to remove the snow, which is like bizarre, because if there's a storm, in Montreal, for example, they come, plow the street, remove the snow, and then they move on. Well, what do? Well, in the city of Toronto, we plow the street, and then we leave the snow around, plow the street, leave the snow around, and then afterwards takes 2 or 3 weeks to remove the snow. That's just like, so it's not even in the contract, which I don't understand. Why wasn't it on the 2019 contract? What got missed at 2021? But that's in the past. We need to move forward. We need to look at best practices, and let's get it right. This is basic needs. Being able to get out of your house, to go shopping, to go to a doctor's appointment, to go to school, go to work is a basic need. Even if you are in a wheelchair or seniors or have a baby stroller. I think I better get to the executive committee. There's 3 minutes in. Thank you.